My name is Marcus Bennett, and I'm about to tell you about the day my 23-year marriage shattered into 1,000 pieces. The day started like any other Tuesday in Seattle. Rain hammered against the windows of my downtown office. I was finishing a budget report when my phone buzzed with a notification I'd been dreading for weeks. The notification was from a GPS tracking app. Before you judge me, let me explain. I'm not some paranoid husband who spies on his wife for fun. 3 months ago, Sarah started acting different. She'd come home late, shower immediately, and sleep with her phone clutched to her chest like it was made of gold. When I asked about her day, her stories had gaps you could drive a truck through. So yes, I installed a tracker on her phone. I'm not proud of it, but I had to know. And that Tuesday afternoon, the app told me exactly what I feared. Sarah's location pin was glowing bright red at the Fairmont Olympic Hotel downtown. She wasn't moving. She'd been there for 47 minutes. My hand started shaking. The hotel was 15 blocks from our house in Queen Anne. Sarah had told me she was visiting her mother in Bellevue. That was a 30-minute drive in the opposite direction. I stared at that red pin, watching it pulse like a heartbeat, mocking me. I grabbed my jacket and told my assistant I had a family emergency. That wasn't a lie. I drove through the rain-slicked streets with my windshield wipers on full blast. But they couldn't clear the fog building inside my head. Sarah and I had been together since college. We'd built a life. We had 2 daughters in university. We had a mortgage and retirement plans, and a timeshare in Hawaii. The Fairmont Olympic is one of those old hotels that tries to look elegant, but mostly just looks expensive. I parked across the street in a loading zone and sat there with the engine running. The tracker showed Sarah was still inside. I should have called her. I should have texted. Instead, I sat there like a coward, staring at the revolving glass doors. Then I saw her. Sarah walked out of the hotel wearing the navy dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was fresh. She was smiling. And beside her, with his hand resting on the small of her back, was a man I'd never seen before. He was younger than me, maybe 40, wearing an expensive suit that screamed tech executive. They weren't holding hands, but they didn't need to. The way he leaned toward her, the way she laughed at something he said, it was intimate. It was comfortable. It was everything I thought we had. I watched them walk to a silver Mercedes parked in the valet zone. The man opened her door. She touched his arm as she got in. They drove away, and I sat there in my 12-year-old Honda with the heater blasting and the rain turning everything blurry. I didn't follow them. I already knew enough. Instead, I drove home through the afternoon traffic, my mind spinning through every explanation that didn't involve my wife sleeping with another man. Maybe he was a client. Sarah worked in pharmaceutical sales. Maybe they'd just finished a business lunch. Maybe I was overreacting. But business lunches don't last 47 minutes in a hotel room, and clients don't put their hands on your lower back like they own you. I got home before Sarah. Our house looked the same as it always did. The garden Sarah had planted last spring was starting to bloom. The porch light she insisted I fix last month was working perfectly. Everything was normal except for the fact that nothing would ever be normal again. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table where we'd eaten breakfast together that morning. She'd kissed me goodbye. She'd told me she loved me. Then she'd driven downtown to meet another man at a hotel. The rage hit me like a physical thing. I wanted to throw the coffee mug against the wall. I wanted to destroy something. But I didn't. Because somewhere beneath the anger was a cold calculation starting to form. If Sarah wanted to play games, I needed to know the rules before I made my move. I pulled out my laptop and logged into our bank accounts. I hadn't checked them in months. Sarah handled all the finances. She said she enjoyed it, that it took stress off me. I'd trusted her. That was my first mistake. The checking account looked normal, but when I opened our savings account, I felt my chest tighten. We'd had $83,000 saved 6 months ago. Now there was $42,000. Sarah had withdrawn $41,000 in increments over the past 5 months. $5,000 here, $7,000 there, always just under $10,000 to avoid triggering bank reporting requirements. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was funding it with our retirement money. I closed the laptop before I did something stupid like smash it. I sat there in the kitchen I'd renovated myself, in the house I'd spent 20 years paying for, and I realized something. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was done being the fool. And by the time Sarah got home that night with her lies ready, I would be ready too. Because she didn't know it yet. But the game she'd been playing alone was about to become very crowded. Sarah came home at 6:43. I know the exact time because I was watching the clock on the microwave, timing how long it took her to construct her lie. She'd texted me at 5:30 saying she was leaving her mother's house. Bellevue to Queen Anne is 30 minutes. She'd taken over an hour. I heard her car pull into the driveway. The garage door opened. She came in through the kitchen entrance, carrying a shopping bag from Pacific Place Mall. Insurance. Proof she'd been shopping downtown, not checking into hotels. She'd thought this through. "Hey, honey," she said, kissing my cheek. She smelled like hotel soap and guilt. "Sorry I'm late. Mom wanted to show me her new garden, and then I stopped at the mall. They were having a sale at Nordstrom." I smiled. I put my arms around her waist, right where that man's hand had been 3 hours ago. "How's your mom doing?" "Oh, you know her. Complaining about her hip but refusing to see a doctor." Sarah pulled away, setting the shopping bag on the counter. "I'm exhausted. I think I'll take a bath before dinner." "Actually, I made reservations at Canlis, 7:30. I thought we could have a date night." She blinked, surprised. We hadn't been to Canlis in 2 years. It was expensive, the kind of place you went for anniversaries and special occasions. "Tonight? Marcus, I'm really tired." "Come on," I said, taking her hand. "When's the last time we did something spontaneous? I already called. They have a table by the window. You love that view." I watched her internal calculation. Saying no would raise suspicion. She forced a smile. "Okay, let me change." She went upstairs. I heard the bathroom door close, then the sound of the shower running. I waited 5 minutes before I quietly climbed the stairs. Her purse was on our bed. I opened it carefully, feeling like a thief in my own home. Inside was her phone, her wallet, and a hotel key card. The Fairmont Olympic, room 714. I took a photo of it with my phone, then put everything back exactly as I'd found it. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd expected to feel something, rage or sadness or betrayal. Instead, I felt nothing but cold clarity. At Canlis, Sarah ordered the halibut. I got the steak. We sat by the window overlooking Lake Union, watching seaplanes land in the fading light. I asked about her day. She told me about her mother's garden, about the hydrangeas and the roses. She was a good liar. Her eyes never wavered. Her voice never cracked. I told her about work, about the budget meeting and the new intern who couldn't figure out the coffee machine. Normal conversation. Marriage maintenance. But I was watching her hands. She kept touching her collarbone right where a necklace would sit. There was a faint red mark there, barely visible. Not from a necklace, from someone's mouth. "Sarah," I said, cutting into my steak, "do you remember our first date?" She smiled, and for a second I saw the girl I'd fallen in love with at 21. "Pike Place Market. You bought me flowers from that vendor by the fish throwers. Daisies. You said they were your favorite. They still are." I nodded slowly. I've been thinking about that day a lot lately. How simple everything was. How honest. Something flickered across her face. Guilt? Fear? It was gone before I could name it. "Why are you being so nostalgic?" "I don't know. Maybe I'm just realizing how much things change." I took a sip of wine. How much people change. She reached across the table and took my hand. Her wedding ring caught the candlelight. "We haven't changed, Marcus. We're still us." I squeezed her hand back. "You're right. We're still us." But we both knew it was a lie. She was lying about her day, about the man, about the money. And I was lying about knowing. We were two actors performing a marriage that had already died. We just hadn't buried it yet. After dinner, we drove home in comfortable silence. Sarah leaned her head against the window, watching the city lights blur past. I wondered if she was thinking about him, if she was calculating when she could see him next, if she felt any guilt at all about the man sitting next to her. The man who'd just spent $300 on a dinner to celebrate a marriage that was already over. At home, she went upstairs immediately. "I'm exhausted," she said. "Don't stay up too late." I waited until I heard our bedroom door close. Then I went to my office and pulled up the bank records again. I started making a spreadsheet. Every withdrawal, every date, every amount. I cross-referenced them with Sarah's calendar on our shared iCloud account. A pattern emerged. Every withdrawal coincided with a day she'd marked as mom visit, or shopping, or lunch with friends. She'd been systematic, careful, but not careful enough. I pulled up our credit card statements next. The Fairmont Olympic appeared 7 times in the past 3 months. Always the same day of the week, always charged to our joint visa. She'd been so confident I wouldn't check that she hadn't even bothered to hide it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Is this Marcus Bennett?" I stared at the screen. Who had my number? I typed back, "Yes. Who is this?" The response came immediately. "We need to talk. It's about your wife. Can you meet tomorrow? There's something you need to know before you do anything stupid." My heart hammered in my chest. I looked up at the ceiling, where Sarah was probably already asleep, dreaming of whatever future she'd been planning with her lover. Then I looked back at the phone. I typed, "Who are you?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, someone who knows what she's really been doing. Someone who knows the truth. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., the Starbucks on Pine Street. Come alone. The message ended. I sat there staring at my phone, wondering who this person was and what truth they could possibly tell me that would be worse than what I already knew. The Starbucks on Pine Street was crowded with the morning rush. I got there at 9:45, ordered a black coffee I didn't want, and found a table in the back corner. I'd barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah walking out of that hotel with another man's hand on her back. I didn't tell her where I was going. I'd left the house at 8:30, telling her I had an early meeting downtown. She'd barely looked up from her phone. At 9:58, a woman walked in. She was maybe 35, wearing a gray business suit and carrying a leather briefcase. She scanned the room, saw me, and walked straight to my table. She didn't smile. "Marcus Bennett?" she asked. "That's me. And you are?" She sat down, setting her briefcase on the chair beside her. "My name is Jennifer Kane. I'm a private investigator." I felt my stomach drop. "Did my wife hire you?" "No." She pulled out a tablet from her briefcase. "I was hired by my client to investigate a fraud case. Your wife is part of it. I'm here because what I found goes beyond my original scope, and I thought you deserved to know the truth before this all explodes." "What fraud case?" Jennifer turned the tablet toward me. On the screen was a photo of Sarah sitting at a restaurant table with the man from the hotel. They were holding hands. "That man is David Reeves. He's a pharmaceutical executive at Biogen Solutions. Do you know him?" "No, I've never seen him before yesterday." "Yesterday?" I told her about following Sarah to the hotel, about seeing them leave together. Jennifer listened without interrupting, her face carefully neutral. When I finished, she nodded. "The affair is real, but it's not what you think. David Reeves is married. His wife, Catherine Reeves, hired me 3 months ago because she suspected he was having an affair. I followed him. He led me to your wife." "So you've been watching Sarah for 3 months?" "Yes. But here's what you need to understand." Jennifer pulled up another document on her tablet. "Your wife isn't just having an affair. She's been embezzling money from her company. My investigation into David revealed that he was helping her do it." The coffee shop noise faded into white noise. "What?" "Sarah works in pharmaceutical sales for MedPoint Industries, correct?" "Yes, for 15 years. David is her client. Biogen buys products from MedPoint. Over the past 6 months, Sarah has been inflating purchase orders and splitting the excess with David. They've stolen approximately $230,000 from both companies combined." I stared at the spreadsheet on her tablet. Line after line of fraudulent transactions. Purchase orders that didn't match delivery receipts, invoices that had been altered. And there, on every document, was Sarah's employee ID. "This can't be right," I said. "Sarah wouldn't—" "I have video evidence of them discussing it. I have emails. I have bank records showing payments from shell accounts they set up together." Jennifer pulled up a video file. "This was recorded 2 weeks ago at the Fairmont Olympic. I planted a listening device in the room they regularly book." She hit play. The video was grainy, shot from a fixed position. I could see a hotel room bed. Then Sarah walked into frame wearing a hotel robe. David followed, still in his dress shirt and pants. "Did you transfer the money?" Sarah's voice, clear as day. "20,000 to the Cayman account this morning. That brings us to $240 total." Sarah laughed. It was a sound I'd heard 1,000 times, but now it felt like fingernails on glass. "My husband hasn't noticed a thing. He doesn't even check the accounts anymore." "What about when he finds out?" "He won't. Marcus is too trusting, too comfortable. He thinks we're happy. By the time he realizes something's wrong, we'll be in Costa Rica with $1 million and new identities." I stopped breathing. Jennifer reached over and paused the video. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know this is a lot." $1 million? My voice came out hoarse. "That's their goal. They've been planning this for over a year. The affair is real, but it's also convenient cover. If anyone got suspicious about the financial crimes, they could claim it was just a romantic relationship gone wrong. Messy, but not criminal." I sat back in my chair. The coffee shop was too loud, too bright, too normal for this conversation. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Catherine Reeves deserves to know. You deserve to know. And because I need your help." "Help with what?" Jennifer leaned forward. "My client wants to destroy David. Not just divorce him, destroy him, take everything. She wants him in prison, but if I go to the authorities now with what I have, Sarah will lawyer up immediately. David will throw her under the bus to save himself. They'll both get reduced sentences through plea deals. Catherine wants maximum damage. What does that have to do with me? You're the key. If you confront Sarah before she knows the investigation exists, she'll panic. She'll reach out to David. They'll communicate in ways we can record. They'll try to hide evidence, which is additional obstruction charges. They'll make mistakes. I looked at the frozen image of my wife on the tablet screen. You want me to pretend I don't know about the fraud, just confront her about the affair. Exactly. Be the angry husband. Threaten divorce. She'll run to David for comfort and strategy. We'll document everything. Then, when we have enough to ensure they both get maximum sentences, we go to the FBI. The FBI? Wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering across state lines. This isn't just corporate theft anymore, it's federal. I thought about Sarah sleeping peacefully last night while I'd lain awake. I thought about her kissing me goodbye this morning. I thought about 23 years of marriage that apparently meant nothing. What's my guarantee? I asked. Guarantee of what? That this doesn't blow back on me, that I don't get accused of being part of it. Jennifer pulled out a document. I had my attorney draft this. It's a cooperation agreement. You help us document their crimes, and you get immunity from any financial liability. The stolen money gets recovered from their assets. You file for divorce and get to keep everything that's legally yours. They go to prison. I read the document carefully. It was simple, straightforward. Sign here. Cooperate with the investigation. And I walked away clean while Sarah and her lover went to federal prison. How long? I asked. How long what? How long until this is over? 2 weeks, maybe 3. We need to document the obstruction, get them on, record discussing the crimes, and show a pattern of deception. Then we take everything to the FBI's white-collar crime division. I looked at the paper in front of me. I looked at the tablet showing my wife in a hotel room, laughing about how stupid her husband was. I thought about our daughters, about how this would destroy them. I thought about my parents, who'd loved Sarah like their own daughter. I thought about our friends, our life, our history. Then I thought about her hand touching that man's arm, her smile as she lied to my face, the $41,000 she'd stolen from our savings to fund her new life. I picked up the pen Jennifer had placed on the table. What do I do first? Jennifer smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. You go home and catch your wife with her guard down. You tell her you know about the affair. And then you watch her world start to fall apart. I drove home with Jennifer's instructions playing on repeat in my head. Act like you know about the affair, but nothing else. Be emotional, but not violent. Push her to contact David immediately. Everything needs to be documented. Sarah's car was in the driveway. She'd taken the day off, claiming she had a migraine. More lies. The house smelled like her lavender candles when I walked in. She was in the living room, sitting on the couch with her laptop open. She looked up, surprised. Marcus, what are you doing home? I didn't answer. I walked straight to her, reached down and closed her laptop. We need to talk. Something in my voice made her freeze. About what? I know, Sarah. She tried to laugh. Know what? I know about David Reeves. I know about the Fairmont Olympic. I know about all of it. The color drained from her face. For a long moment, she just stared at me. Then she did exactly what Jennifer predicted. She went on the offensive. You followed me. You've been spying on me. Don't turn this around. I saw you, Tuesday afternoon, coming out of that hotel with him, his hand on your back like he owns you. Sarah stood up, Her hands were shaking. Marcus, I can explain. Explain what? Explain how you've been screwing another man? Explain the hotel room? Explain the lies? I was shouting now. I didn't have to fake the rage. It was real, bubbling up from somewhere deep and dark. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. Tell me who he is. She pressed her hands to her face. When she spoke, her voice was muffled. He's a client. It started 6 months ago. We had drinks after a meeting, and it just happened. I never meant for it to continue. I tried to stop, but what? But you fell in love with him? But he's better than me? But our 23-year marriage means nothing? No. Marcus, please, I love you. This was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I walked to the window, putting distance between us before I said something that would tip my hand. Jennifer had warned me. Act hurt, not suspicious. Don't mention money. Don't mention fraud. Just focus on the affair. How many times? I asked, my back to her. What? How many times did you sleep with him? Silence. Then, quietly. I don't know. Maybe 20 times? 20. 20 betrayals. 20 times she'd looked me in the eye and lied. I gripped the windowsill until my knuckles turned white. I want you out, I said. Marcus, I want you out of this house. Pack a bag. Go to your mother's. Go to a hotel. Go to him for all I care. But I can't look at you right now. Please, can we talk about this? Can we see a counselor? I turned to face her. She was crying, mascara running down her cheeks. Part of me, a stupid, weak part, wanted to comfort her, wanted to believe this was salvageable. But I kept thinking about that video, about her laughing, about her calling me too trusting. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice when you got into that hotel bed with him. It meant nothing. Then why did you do it 20 times? She had no answer for that. I watched her realize that no explanation would fix this. She'd been caught, and now she had to face the consequences. I'll pack some things, she said finally. I waited in the living room while she went upstairs. I heard drawers opening and closing, heard the sound of her crying. My phone was in my hand, and I was tempted to text Jennifer to tell her it was working. But I waited. Patience. 30 minutes later, Sarah came downstairs with a suitcase and her purse. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked broken. Good. Where are you going? I asked. A hotel. I need time to think. Not the Fairmont, I hope. She flinched like I'd hit her. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I laughed, and it came out bitter. Get out, Sarah, before I say something we'll both regret. She walked to the door, then stopped. Marcus, I know you don't believe me, but I do love you. This thing with David, it wasn't about you. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why? She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. Because I was bored. Because I'm 45 and I felt invisible. Because he made me feel young again. Because I'm an idiot who threw away everything for something that meant nothing. I wanted to believe her. God, how I wanted to believe that this was just a midlife crisis. Just a stupid mistake that we could work through. But I kept seeing that video. Kept hearing her voice. By the time he realizes something's wrong, we'll be in Costa Rica. Goodbye, Sarah. She opened her mouth to say something else, then thought better of it. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I heard her car start, heard her pull out of the driveway, then silence. I waited 10 minutes to make sure she was really gone. Then I pulled out my phone and called Jennifer. She left, I said. She's probably calling him right now. Perfect. We have her phone tapped. Every call, every text, we'll have it all. Did you stick to the script? Yes. Only mentioned the affair. Nothing about money. Good. Now comes the hard part. You wait. Let them panic. Let them communicate. In a few days, we'll have everything we need. I hung up and looked around my empty house. 23 years of marriage, and it came down to this. Me standing in our living room, using my wife's affair to trap her in a federal crime. I should have felt guilty. I should have felt like I was betraying her. Instead, I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Because Sarah had taught me an important lesson in the past few months. Love is fragile. Trust is precious. But revenge is patient. And I had all the time in the world. The waiting was harder than I'd expected. For 3 days, I stayed in the house alone, watching TV I didn't care about and eating takeout that tasted like cardboard. Jennifer sent me updates every few hours. Sarah had called David 17 times in the first 24 hours. She texted him another 43 times. The panic was real and spreading. On Thursday morning, Jennifer called. We need to meet. There's been a development. We met at the same Starbucks. She looked tired but energized, like a hunter who'd just spotted her prey. She pulled out her tablet and showed me a transcript of a phone call from the night before. Sarah called David at 11:47 p.m., Jennifer explained. Read this. I scanned the transcript. It was damning. Sarah, he knows about us. He saw us at the hotel. David, shit. What did you tell him? Sarah, just about the affair. Nothing else. But Marcus isn't stupid. What if he starts digging? David, did he mention money? Sarah, no. But he's going to check the accounts. He's going to find the withdrawals. David, we need to move up the timeline. Can you transfer your half of the money to the offshore account tonight? Sarah, I can't. He'll notice immediately. The account requires both signatures for transfers over $20,000. David, then we have a problem. If he freezes the accounts before we can move the money, we're screwed. Sarah, what about the company funds? Can you accelerate the final transfers? David, I'm working on it. But MedPoint's accounting team is already asking questions about the last purchase order. I think someone flagged it. Sarah, oh God, this is falling apart. David, no, listen to me. Stay calm. We stick to the plan. In 2 weeks, we'll have everything moved. Then we disappear. Your husband will get the divorce papers from Costa Rica, and by then, it won't matter what he knows. Sarah, what if he goes to the police? David, with what evidence? An affair isn't illegal. Everything else is buried in paperwork he'll never find. We're fine. Just hold it together. I looked up from the transcript. My hands were shaking with rage. They're planning to run in 2 weeks. Yes, which means we need to move now. If they get that money offshore and disappear, recovering, it becomes almost impossible. Catherine Reeves will lose her leverage, and your wife will get away with stealing your retirement. What do you need from me? Jennifer pulled out another document. I need you to do something that's going to feel wrong. I need you to call Sarah and apologize. Apologize? Tell her you've been thinking. Tell her you still love her. Tell her you want to try to work things out. Make her think you're willing to forgive the affair. Why would I do that? Because right now, she's desperate and cornered. Desperate people make mistakes, but they also run. If you give her hope that she can keep you in the dark while she finishes the plan, she'll take it. She'll stop being so careful. She'll communicate more openly with David. And that's when we get the evidence we need for the FBI. I stared at the transcript again. Reading my wife plot my destruction in black and white was surreal. You want me to pretend everything's fine while she steals more money? Want you to give her enough rope to hang herself. And trust me, Marcus, she will. That afternoon, I called Sarah. She answered on the first ring. Marcus? Her voice was small, hopeful. I hated how easily I could manipulate that hope. Hey, can we talk? Yes. God, yes, I've been wanting to call you, but I didn't know if you'd want to hear from me. I've been thinking a lot the past few days, about us, about what happened. I'm so sorry, Marcus. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am. I hate myself for hurting you. I know you are. I forced warmth into my voice. Look, I don't know if we can fix this. I don't know if I can trust you again. But I think we owe it to ourselves, to our daughters, to at least try. Maybe counseling, maybe taking it slow. Silence. Then she started crying. Really? You'd be willing to try? I've loved you for 23 years, Sarah. That doesn't just disappear because you made a mistake. It's a terrible mistake, but maybe we can work through it. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit my job if you want. I'll never see David again, whatever you need. I don't need you to quit. I just need honesty. No more lies. If there's anything else I should know, now's the time to tell me. Another pause. This was the moment. If she was going to confess about the money, about the fraud, it would be now. There's nothing else, she said. I swear, it was just the affair, that's all. I closed my eyes. She'd chosen to keep lying. Okay, then let's start there. Can you come home this weekend? We can talk in person. Yes, I'll come Saturday morning. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for giving me another chance. I hung up and immediately texted Jennifer. It's done. She's still lying. She thinks I'm buying it. The response came back instantly. Perfect. We're recording everything now. By Monday, we'll have enough for the FBI. Get ready. Saturday morning, Sarah came home with flowers and apologies. She made my favorite, breakfast. She sat across from me at the kitchen table where we'd shared 10,000 meals and acted like everything was going to be okay. I played along, asking her questions about David, pretending to believe her when she said it was over. But I watched her carefully. I watched her hands shake when her phone buzzed. I watched her disappear into the bathroom to text. I watched her smile at me while her eyes calculated something else entirely. Sunday night, Jennifer sent me a message. Check your email. You need to see this. I opened my laptop. The email contained a video file. I clicked play. It was security footage from a bank in the Cayman Islands. The timestamp was Saturday afternoon, while Sarah had been at our house pretending to rebuild our marriage. In the video, a woman who looked exactly like Sarah walked up to a bank teller. She was wearing sunglasses and a hat. But the identification she presented had her photo. The email explanation below said, "She didn't fly there. She's using a service that lets you open offshore accounts with video verification. The account now has $420,000 in it. We traced the deposits. They came from the shell accounts she and David set up. She's been moving money all weekend while sleeping in your house." I watched the video 3 more times. Then I called Jennifer. "When do we take this to the FBI?" "Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. I have a meeting set up with Agent Sarah Chen from their white-collar crime division. I need you there to give a statement and show them you had no knowledge of the fraud." "What happens after that?" "They'll issue warrants. They'll freeze all the accounts, including the offshore one. They'll arrest both Sarah and David within 48 hours. The evidence is overwhelming. They'll both be looking at 20 to 30 years in federal prison." I should have felt victorious. I should have felt satisfied that justice was coming. Instead, I just felt tired. "Marcus," Jennifer said softly, I know this is hard, but you didn't cause this. They did. You're just making sure they face the consequences. I know. Get some sleep. Tomorrow changes everything. I hung up and walked upstairs to the bedroom Sarah and I had shared for 2 decades. Her side of the closet was still half empty from when she'd packed that suitcase. Her perfume still lingered on her pillow. Tomorrow, the FBI would come for her. Tomorrow, the trap would spring shut. Tomorrow, my wife would learn that the man she'd called too trusting had been 10 steps ahead the entire time. I set my alarm for 6 a.m. I needed to be out of the house before Sarah woke up, before I had to look her in the eye one more time, knowing what was coming. Revenge, I'd learned, isn't hot and explosive. It's cold and methodical. It's letting someone believe they've won right up until the moment they lose everything. The FBI field office in downtown Seattle looked exactly like you'd expect from a federal building. Gray concrete, security checkpoints, and people in suits walking with purpose. Jennifer met me in the lobby at 8:45. She was carrying 3 briefcases. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Sarah doesn't know I'm here. I left before she woke up." "Good. Let's go." Agent Sarah Chen's office was on the 4th floor. She was younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with sharp eyes that seemed to process information faster than I could speak. Jennifer made the introductions, then started laying out evidence on the conference table. "Gentlemen, ladies," Agent Chen said, nodding to the 2 other agents who'd joined us. "Let's walk through what we have." For the next 2 hours, I watched Jennifer present a case that was airtight. She had timeline documents showing exactly when each fraudulent transaction occurred. She had video footage of Sarah and David discussing the crimes. She had bank records from 6 different financial institutions. She had the offshore account information, including the attempted transfers from this weekend. "Mr. Bennett," Agent Chen said, turning to me, "you had no knowledge of your wife's criminal activities prior to being contacted by Ms. Kane?" "None. I thought she was just having an affair. I had no idea about the fraud until Jennifer showed me the evidence." "And you're willing to testify to that under oath?" "Yes." Agent Chen made notes on her legal pad. "The wire fraud alone is enough for 20 years. Add in the money laundering, the conspiracy charges, and the obstruction of justice, we're looking at 30 years minimum for both defendants. Federal sentencing guidelines are mandatory. There's no pleading this down to nothing." Jennifer leaned forward. "What's the timeline for arrests?" "We'll get the warrants today. Based on the evidence you've provided, any judge will sign. We'll execute tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. We'll hit both residences simultaneously." "Mr. Bennett, I need you not to be home when we arrest your wife." "I can stay at a hotel." "Good. Don't contact her. Don't warn her. Don't give her any indication that this is coming. The element of surprise is crucial." I signed document after document. Statements, affidavits, cooperation agreements. By the time we finished, it was afternoon. Jennifer walked me out to the parking garage. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I don't know. 6 months ago, my biggest worry was whether I'd saved enough for retirement. Now I'm helping the FBI arrest my wife. Marcus, I know this doesn't feel like it, but you're a victim here too. She stole from you. She lied to you. She was planning to abandon you with nothing while she started a new life with stolen money. You didn't cause this. I know, but it doesn't make it easier." My phone rang. It was Sarah. I looked at Jennifer. "Answer it," she said. "Act normal. Remember, she doesn't know anything yet." I answered. "Hey, Marcus, where are you? I woke up and you were gone." "I had to run some errands. I'll be back soon." "Okay, I'm making dinner tonight. That pasta dish you like. I thought we could talk more about counseling, about moving forward. I closed my eyes. She sounded so sincere, so convinced her lies were working. That sounds great. I'll see you around 6. I hung up. Jennifer was watching me carefully. Last chance, she said. If you want to warn her, now's the time. I can't stop you. But if you do, she'll run. David will run. They'll get away with it. I'm not warning her. You're sure? I thought about the video of her at the Cayman Islands bank. I thought about her laughing in that hotel room. I thought about 23 years of marriage that meant nothing compared to $400,000. I'm sure. I didn't go home that night. I checked into a Holiday Inn near the airport and sat on the bed watching CNN without really seeing it. My phone stayed silent. Sarah texted twice asking where I was. I told her I had a last-minute work emergency, that I'd be home tomorrow. She replied, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow night. Love you." Love you. 3 words that used to mean everything. Now they just meant she was still performing, still believing I was too stupid to see through her lies. At 5:30 a.m., my phone rang. It was Jennifer. They're moving in now. FBI has teams at both locations. This will be over in the next hour. Okay. Marcus, turn on the news. Channel 7 has cameras outside David Reeves' house. This is going to be public. I found the channel. A reporter was standing in front of a suburban home, speaking urgently into the camera. Behind her, FBI agents and windbreakers were leading a man in handcuffs to a black SUV. I recognized David Reeves immediately. His perfect hair was messed up. He wasn't wearing a suit. He looked small and scared. The reporter's voice filtered through. Developing story of a major white-collar crime bust. Federal agents have arrested David Reeves, a pharmaceutical executive, on charges of wire fraud and money laundering. According to sources, Reeves and an accomplice have been stealing from multiple companies over the past year. The alleged accomplice is also being arrested this morning. The camera cut to aerial footage. A helicopter shot of my house. I watched FBI vehicles pull up to my driveway. I watched agents in tactical gear approach the front door. I watched the door open and Sarah appear in her bathrobe, confused. Then I watched her get handcuffed. She wasn't crying. She wasn't screaming. She just stood there, frozen, as they read her rights and led her to a vehicle. The camera zoomed in close enough that I could see her face. She looked shocked, betrayed, like she couldn't believe this was happening. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. Marcus Bennett? A woman's voice. Professional. Yes. This is Agent Chen. Your wife has been taken into custody. We've frozen all accounts associated with the fraud, including the offshore account. A forensic accounting team is going through your joint finances now. You should expect a call from them this afternoon. What happens now? Arraignment will be tomorrow. Bail will likely be denied given the flight risk. After that, it's up to the prosecutor's office. But with the evidence we have, I'd expect both defendants to be offered plea deals. If they're smart, they'll take them. And if they don't, then this goes to trial, and they lose. The evidence is overwhelming. Agent Chen hung up. I sat there on the hotel bed, watching the news coverage continue. They were showing Sarah's employee photo from MedPoint Industries. They were interviewing neighbors who said they seemed like such a nice couple. They were showing a timeline of the alleged crimes. My phone buzzed with text messages. Friends asking if I'd seen the news, family members wanting to know if it was true. My daughters, both away at college, calling frantically. I didn't answer any of them. I just sat there, watching the television, watching my wife's arrest play over and over on every news channel, watching the life we'd built together collapse in real time. Jennifer had been right. This didn't feel like victory. It felt like watching someone you loved commit suicide in slow motion. Sarah had done this to herself. She'd made every choice that led to this moment. But that didn't make it easier to watch her lose everything. Around noon, the media circus calmed down. The reporters packed up. The FBI left. My house sat empty, wrapped in police tape, a crime scene now instead of a home. I checked out of the hotel and drove toward the house. I didn't go in. I just parked across the street and looked at it. 23 years, 2 daughters, countless memories. All of it built on a foundation that turned out to be sand. My phone rang one more time. It was Catherine Reeves, David's wife. "Mr. Bennett, we've never met, but I know who you are. I wanted to thank you for helping Jennifer, for doing the right thing. I didn't do it for you. I know, but thank you anyway." She paused. "My husband called me from jail. He's asking me to post bail, to hire lawyers, to stand by him." "What did you say?" "I told him to rot. Then I filed for divorce." Her voice was steady, cold. "We both deserve better than people who could do this to us." She hung up. I looked at my house one more time and started the engine. She was right. I did deserve better. Better than lies. Better than betrayal. Better than being called too trusting by the woman who'd promised to love me forever. I drove away without looking back. Tomorrow, Sarah would be arraigned. Tomorrow, she'd stand in front of a judge and realize that her perfect plan had failed. That the money was gone. That her lover was cooperating with prosecutors to save himself. That her husband had known everything and had helped build the trap that caught her. Tomorrow, she'd learn that being underestimated was the most dangerous thing you could do to someone who loved you. Because love, when it turns cold, becomes the most patient form of revenge. The arraignment was at 2 p.m. I sat in the back of the courtroom wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, trying to be invisible. The media hadn't connected me to the story yet, hadn't realized that the betrayed husband was the key witness. I wanted to keep it that way. Sarah was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, no makeup, no jewelry. She looked 10 years older than she had 4 days ago. Her eyes scanned the courtroom, looking for someone, looking for me. I slouched lower in my seat. The judge read the charges: wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. Each count carried 10 to 20 years. The prosecutor requested no bail, citing flight risk and the offshore accounts. Sarah's public defender argued weakly that she had ties to the community, that she wasn't a danger. The judge wasn't impressed. Bail denied. Defendant will remain in federal custody pending trial. Next case. It was over in 15 minutes. They led Sarah back out. She was crying now, the reality finally hitting her. She was going to prison. The life she'd planned with David was gone. The money was frozen. Everything she'd worked for, everything she'd betrayed me for, had vanished. I should have felt satisfied. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt hollow. I left the courthouse and drove to my attorney's office. His name was Robert Mackenzie, and he specialized in divorce and asset protection. Jennifer had recommended him. "Marcus," he said, gesturing to a chair, "I've reviewed the forensic accounting report from the FBI. It's actually better news than you might think." "How is any of this good news?" "The FBI traced all the money, $420,000 in the offshore account. That money came from the corporate fraud. It'll be seized as evidence and eventually returned to the companies." "But your personal accounts?" "Sarah only took $41,000 from your joint savings." That's recoverable. And since you cooperated with the investigation, you have significant leverage in the divorce. He pulled out a spreadsheet. Here's what I propose. We file for divorce immediately, citing fraud and abandonment. We ask for full ownership of the house, your retirement accounts, everything. We use her criminal conduct as grounds to waive any spousal support. Given that she's facing 30 years in prison, she won't be in a position to fight it. What about my daughters? They're adults. The courts won't mandate custody or child support. But Marcus, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get uglier before it gets better. Sarah's attorney is going to try to claim you knew about the fraud, that you were complicit. They'll try to drag you down with her. I have immunity. I signed a cooperation agreement. In criminal court, yes. But in divorce court, she can say whatever she wants. She'll try to paint you as vindictive, as setting her up. The truth doesn't matter as much as the narrative. I thought about the video of her at the Cayman Islands bank, about her texts to David, about her laughing in that hotel room. Let her try, I said. I have recordings of everything. That evening, my daughter Emily called. She was 20, a junior at University of Washington. She was crying. Dad, is it true? Is Mom really going to prison? Yes, honey. I'm sorry you're finding out this way. The news is saying she stole money, that she was having an affair. How long have you known? About a week. A week? Dad, why didn't you tell us? Because I needed to make sure I had the truth before I said anything. I needed to protect you and your sister from this. Protect us? Dad, our mother is in jail. Everyone's calling asking questions. People are sending me articles. It's everywhere. Her sister Amanda called 30 minutes later. She was more controlled, more analytical. She was 22, about to start law school. Dad, I need to understand the timeline. When did you find out about the affair versus the fraud? I walked her through everything. The tracking app, the hotel, Jennifer's investigation, the FBI cooperation. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Dad, you did the right thing. Your sister doesn't think so. Emily's emotional. She'll understand eventually. But Dad, you need to know something. Mom called me last week from jail. She's asking us to testify as character witnesses. She wants us to say you were controlling, that you drove her to this. What did you say? I said I'd think about it. But honestly, I've been going over everything in my head. The late nights, the new clothes, the way she was always on her phone. The signs were there. We just didn't want to see them. I'm sorry you have to deal with this. I'm sorry you had to deal with it alone. Dad, come stay with me this weekend. You shouldn't be alone right now. I drove to Olympia on Friday night and spent the weekend with Amanda. We didn't talk much about Sarah. Instead, we watched movies and cooked meals and pretended everything was normal. But on Sunday, before I left, she asked the question I'd been avoiding. Do you still love her? I looked at my daughter, so much like her mother in appearance, but thankfully nothing like her in character. I love who I thought she was. I don't know the woman who's in jail. I don't think I ever did. Do you regret turning her in? No. She stole from people. She was planning to steal more. She would have left me with nothing if she'd gotten away with it. Sometimes loving someone means letting them face the consequences of their choices. Amanda hugged me. That's very evolved, Dad. I don't know if I could be that rational. I'm not rational. I'm furious. But fury doesn't change the facts. The divorce papers were filed on Monday. Sarah's public defender tried to negotiate, suggesting we wait until after the criminal trial. Robert shut that down immediately. Your client committed fraud. She engaged in infidelity. She planned to abandon her husband with nothing. There's no negotiation here. Mr. Bennett keeps everything. She gets nothing. The criminal trial was set for 6 months out. But 2 months in, David Reeves took a plea deal. 25 years in federal prison in exchange for full cooperation against Sarah. His testimony would bury her. Sarah's attorney advised her to take a deal too. 15 years if she pled guilty to all counts. She refused. She insisted on going to trial, convinced she could win. Jennifer called me when she heard. Your wife is making a mistake. With David testifying against her, she has no defense. That's her choice. Marcus, you're going to have to testify. The prosecution is calling you as a witness. Are you ready for that? I've been ready since the day I saw her walk out of that hotel. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified on day 5. The prosecutor walked me through everything: the tracking app, the bank records, the confrontation, my cooperation with the FBI. Sarah's attorney tried to discredit me, suggesting I was motivated by revenge rather than justice. Mr. Bennett, isn't it true that you were angry at your wife? Yes. And you wanted to hurt her? No, I wanted the truth. But you didn't warn her about the investigation. You pretended to forgive her while building a case against her. I cooperated with law enforcement. That's not a crime. But it is vindictive, isn't it? I looked at Sarah. She was sitting at the defense table, staring at me with tears running down her face, playing the victim one last time. No, I said. Vindictive is stealing $400,000 from your employer while lying to your husband every day for 6 months. Vindictive is planning to abandon your family and start a new life with stolen money. I didn't do any of that. I just made sure the person who did faced justice. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They found Sarah guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 28 years in federal prison. No parole, no early release, 28 years. I watched her face crumble as the sentence was read. I watched the bailiff lead her away in handcuffs. I watched the mother of my children become prisoner number 47839-088. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I pushed through them without comment. Jennifer was waiting by my car. It's over, she said. Is it? The criminal case is done. Your divorce will finalize in a few weeks. Sarah will spend the next 3 decades in prison. David, too. You get to move on with your life. I got in my car. Jennifer leaned down to the window. Marcus, I know this doesn't feel like winning, but you protected yourself. You protected your daughters. You did everything right. Then why does it feel so empty? Because you're grieving. You lost your wife. Not to death, but to her own choices. That's a loss you have to mourn. I drove home to the house that was finally, legally, completely mine. I walked through rooms that echoed with memories of a marriage that had been dead long before I knew it. I poured a glass of scotch and sat on the porch watching the sunset. My phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Marcus, it was Sarah. She was calling from prison. Don't hang up, please. I just need 1 minute. I should have hung up. I should have blocked the number. Instead, I listened. I'm sorry, she said. Her voice was broken. I know that means nothing. I know I destroyed everything. But I need you to know I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what I did to you. No, I didn't. I told myself it wasn't personal, that it was just about the money. But that was a lie. Everything I did, every choice I made, I knew it was wrong. I knew it would hurt you. And I did it anyway. Why are you calling me, Sarah? Because in 28 years, when I get out, you're the only person who might still remember who I was before I became this. Before I became prisoner 4783988. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, even if you never forgive me. The line went dead. I sat there with the phone in my hand, watching the sun disappear below the horizon. Sarah was right about one thing. I would remember who she was, but not the woman she wanted me to remember. I'd remember the woman who looked me in the eye and lied, the woman who stole my trust and my money and my future, the woman who learned too late that some betrayals can't be forgiven. And that, I realized, was its own kind of justice. Chapter 8. Moving forward. 6 months after the trial ended, I sold the house. It had too many ghosts, too many memories of a life that turned out to be fiction. I bought a smaller place in Ballard near the water, with a view of the Olympic Mountains. It was clean, uncomplicated. Mine. My daughters took it hard at first. Emily especially struggled with losing her childhood home on top of everything else. But Amanda understood. "It's like the house had cancer, Dad," she told me. "Sometimes you have to cut away the whole thing to get healthy." The divorce finalized 3 months after Sarah's sentencing. Under Washington state law, I kept everything. The house, the retirement accounts, the car. Sarah got nothing. Her attorney had tried to argue for some division of assets, but Robert McKenzie shut it down with one sentence. "Your client is a convicted felon who stole from her husband. She forfeits all marital rights." The frozen offshore account was eventually recovered. After legal fees and restitution to the companies Sarah had defrauded, there was still $280,000 left. It was split between the victims. I received $41,000, exactly what she'd stolen from our savings. I put it in a trust fund for Emily and Amanda. Blood money, but at least it would help them with law school and graduate programs. Work became my refuge. I threw myself into projects, stayed late, volunteered for assignments others avoided. My boss, knowing what I'd been through, was understanding. "Take all the time you need, Marcus. Just don't burn yourself out." But burning out felt better than thinking. Thinking led to questions I couldn't answer. Had there been signs earlier? Could I have prevented this? What did it say about me that I'd lived with a criminal for 23 years and never suspected a thing? My therapist, Dr. Reeves, no relation to David, thankfully, had a different perspective. "You weren't blind, Marcus. You were trusting. There's a difference." Sarah was sophisticated in her deception. She compartmentalized. Most people in your position wouldn't have noticed either. Most people don't need tracking apps to verify their spouse's location. You had instincts. You listened to them. That's not paranoia. That's wisdom. I wasn't sure about wisdom. Mostly I felt tired. Tired of explaining to friends what happened. Tired of the pitying looks at the grocery store from people who'd seen the news coverage. Tired of Emily crying on the phone, asking why I couldn't just forgive her mother. "Because forgiveness requires remorse," I told her. "Your mother called me once from prison to apologize. Once. Then she sent me a letter asking me to recant my testimony, to claim I'd lied to the FBI. She's not sorry. She's just sorry she got caught. She's still my mom. I know, and I would never ask you to stop loving her. But I can't pretend she's someone she's not." Catherine Reeves reached out to me 3 times after the trial. Once to thank me again for cooperating with Jennifer's investigation. Once to let me know she'd received her portion of the recovered funds. And once, 6 months later, to invite me to dinner. We met at a quiet restaurant in Bellevue. She was elegant, composed, nothing like the bitter woman I'd expected. "How are you managing?" she asked after we'd ordered. "Day by day. You?" "The same. David calls from prison every week, asking me to accept his collect calls. I never do. Sarah sent me a letter." "What did it say?" "That the prosecution had pressured me. That I'd been manipulated by Jennifer into testifying falsely. That if I came forward with the truth, she could appeal her conviction." Catherine's laugh was sharp. "They really don't get it, do they? They still think we're the fools. Still think if they spin the right story, we'll come running back. Do you ever wonder what we did wrong? What we missed?" "Every day. Then I remember that asking that question gives them power. They want us to doubt ourselves. They want us to think we're the problem. But Marcus, we're not. We loved imperfect people perfectly. They loved perfectly good people imperfectly. That's not our failure. It's theirs." We talked for 3 hours. About rebuilding, about trust, about whether we'd ever be able to open ourselves to someone new. It was the most honest conversation I'd had in months. "You know what the worst part is?" Catherine said as we were leaving. "I still love him. Some small, stupid part of me still loves the man I thought he was. Even knowing what he did. Even knowing it was all a lie." "Yeah," I said. "I know exactly what you mean." We stayed in touch after that. Not dating. Neither of us was ready. But friendship. Understanding. Two people who'd survived the same earthquake and could speak the same language of grief and betrayal. A year after the trial, Jennifer called. "Just wanted to check in. See how you're doing." "I'm okay. Getting there anyway." "I'm glad. Listen, I wanted you to know that Sarah's appeal was denied. She tried to argue ineffective counsel, prosecutorial misconduct, the works. The appellate court rejected everything. Her sentence stands." "Good. There's something else. David Reeves died last week. Prison fight. Someone found out he was a white-collar criminal instead of a real convict. You know how that goes." I sat down heavily. "Does Catherine know?" "She was notified. I spoke with her yesterday. She's handling it better than expected. Says it's closure." I thought about David, about the silver Mercedes and the expensive suit and the hand on my wife's back. I thought about him dying in a prison yard 1,000 miles from everything he'd thought he was building. There was no satisfaction in it. Just waste. Thanks for letting me know, Jennifer. Marcus, you did the right thing. I know it doesn't always feel that way, but you did. After we hung up, I walked down to the waterfront. The Olympics were clear against the sky, snow-capped and eternal. Sailboats dotted the bay, life continuing despite everything. My phone buzzed. Emily. Dad, I'm coming home this weekend. Can I stay with you? Of course. I need to tell you something. Something I should have said a long time ago. What's that? That I'm proud of you. For doing the hard thing. For not letting her get away with it just because she's my mom. I'm sorry it took me this long to say it. I stood there on the pier with tears running down my face, watching the ferries cross the Sound. Thank you, sweetheart. That means everything. That night, I did something I hadn't done in a year. I went on a date. Nothing serious, just coffee with a woman from work who'd been asking for months. Her name was Lisa. She was divorced too. She knew my story, everyone did. But she'd never brought it up, never offered unsolicited advice or pity. We talked about books and movies and whether Seattle would ever have a decent summer. Normal things, easy things. When I walked her to her car, she touched my arm. I had a nice time, Marcus. We should do this again. I'd like that. Driving home, I realized something. I'd survived. Not just the betrayal, not just the trial. I'd survived the aftermath, the grief, the rebuilding. I was still standing. Sarah was in prison. David was dead. The money was recovered. The truth was told. And I had decades of life ahead of me. Life that belonged to me and no one else. That was justice. Not the verdict, not the sentence. The fact that I was free while they were not. I parked in front of my small house in Ballard and looked at the light I'd left on. Inside were no ghosts, no lies, no betrayals. Just possibility. And that, finally, felt like enough. This story is a work of fiction designed to explore themes of betrayal, justice, and recovery. While inspired by real-life events of marital infidelity and white-collar crime, all characters and specific situations are fictional. If you're experiencing relationship challenges or financial abuse, please seek help from qualified professionals, counselors, or law enforcement.